Hi guys, welcome to Mr. Smith's Kitchen. I'm Brian, Mr. Smith. This is my kitchen. Uh, if you're new to my channel, I'm glad you found me, and I hope you stop by to stay for a while. If you're returning to my channel, that's even better. That means I'm saying something that's relevant and that you get something out of. If you are new to my channel, quick synopsis of the channel is on Tuesdays, we talk about social issues, any related current events, things like that. Yeah, pretty much anything I want to talk about. If there's something you want to talk about, just leave me a comment. We can talk about it. As far as comments go, just keep it pleasant. Mean comments and obscure comments will probably be deleted. Mean comments definitely deleted. Wednesdays, we cook dinner together. I almost always try to do a new recipe, something I've never done before, so that way we can make it together and find out. Thursdays, same thing with baking. We do pies, cakes, cookies, all kinds of stuff. And I always try something new. I almost always try something new. And if we like either Wednesday's dish or Thursday's baked good, we'll keep it. If we don't, we tear it out of the notebook and move on with life. But we also do some canning. We do some woodworking. We also have fish that we take care of. You just get to see a little bit of everyday life. A little bit about me real quick. I'm married to Chris, who you'll see in some of my videos. We have 4 children, one son, Brian, and our oldest daughter, Taylor. They both are adults. Out of the house, we have a teenager, Sarah, and our youngest, Abby, who is in about every 3rd video. So, that being said, don't forget to subscribe. Hit the notification bell if you want to know when my videos are coming out. I do at least try to do at least 3 videos a week, sometimes 4, depending. But that way you'll know when they're available to be watched. And if you want, thumbs up, thumbs down, not a big thing. Like I said, as far as comments go, I do adore comments. I like good conversation, and just like I said, keep it clean. And respectful. We are a community of all age groups on my channel, and we try to promote happiness, family values, and community. So, with it being Thursday, I'm going to make a pumpkin roll. Now, I have never made a roll of any kind. A roll is essentially like you would go to the store and get like a Swiss roll, the little snack cakes. It's got the cake on that swirls in, that's got a filling in the center. Only this one's going to be much bigger. It's going to be at least 10 inches, yeah, 10 inches, sorry, wide. And we're going to make it from scratch. We're going to do a pumpkin roll. A friend of mine, a newer friend of mine, Kaylee, loves pumpkin. And she said, we talked about a pumpkin roll, and she said, that sounds amazing. And since I still see her on occasion, she used to work with me, I'm going to make one, and that way she can come over and have a piece. So I've never made one before, like I said, so this will be new. It does seem to have a lot of moving parts to it, which you'll see. And I will tell you some shortcuts I've seen that we're not going to do, just because I want to do this right, and I want you to be able to do it right. If you're new to my channel and you haven't watched any of my videos, this is your first video per se. My videos, especially with cooking and baking, do have a tendency to run a little long. I don't go fast because I want you to get everything out of it you possibly can. And then that way it's okay. And if I screw up, I don't edit it out. At least I try not to, But either way, if I screw up, you'll always see the end result. If the dish doesn't taste good, I will be honest with you and tell you, it doesn't taste good, didn't turn out right, whatever. And we'll take it from there. So one thing I am going to work on as soon as we get done with this, baking this cake today, I've started making, this was a test run of homemade rotel. Now this is a spicier version. This has got jalapenos and some other hot peppers in it. But I'm going to me and you together are going to make some just standard rotel, which is tomatoes and green chilies. But that's the next video. So, that being said, let's start on the pumpkin spice video, or the pumpkin roll video. That is pretty awesome. Like I said, it's got a few standard parts, or moving parts, but we'll get through it together. If I can do it, I know you can do it. All right, so things you will need. Let me turn you down here towards the counter so you can see tools and equipment you will need for this adventure. If I don't drop my camera that's sitting on the sink into the sink, we'll be in good shape. Okay, so things that will come in handy for this recipe are going to be, first and foremost, always a scale. I mean, if you don't have one, that's fine, but scales in baking are almost essential. You can pick one up for 15, 20 bucks, a decent one for 15, 20 bucks for home use if you don't use it all the time. But they go all the way up to, $1,500. I think it's the most expensive scale I've seen. But they're important, all right? So you'll need a scale first. You will need something to mix with. You can use a stand mixer. I'm going to use my stand mixer. Although I will say I saw prices on them this morning while I was out hunting down jars, and these bad boys got expensive quick. This stand mixer right here will run you about 350 bucks. That seems to be about the going rate, $300 to $400 for a basic stand mixer. So if you don't have one of these, you can use a hand mixer, or you can just use a whisk, which is also on our to-do list. You will need that whisk. You will need a spatula, and if you have an offset spatula, it will come in handy also, but it's not necessary. It just, and you'll see why later. You will need a bowl and some sort of sifter. Will also come in handy. You will need a sifter for this recipe, but for the first step, you don't necessarily need it, but you will need a sifter. The next thing you will need is a bowl, at least one bowl, preferably two, because we have wet ingredients and dry ingredients we got to mix together. And that might be about, all the things you'll need. There's at least two bowls, a sifter, a whisk, a spatula, a rubber spatula, and an offset spatula if you have one. If not, the rubber spatula will probably work just fine. All right, so let's talk about ingredients. Our dry ingredients are as follows, okay? And I'm just going to go ahead as I tell you these, and I'm going to dump them in this sifter, all right? And I will give you cups and gram measurements, so that way when you have your scale, you can measure it in grams. First thing you're going to need is 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour, just plain old flour, all right? We're going to put that in there. And then I'm going to show you this plate that has just a bunch of stuff on it. All right, so we have, you can see there, we've got baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon, 2 grams. Baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon, 2 grams. We have salt, which is 1/4 teaspoon or 1 gram. Yeah, I know there's a lot of white on a white background there. We have cinnamon, which is 1 teaspoon or 1 gram. We have ginger, which is 1/4 teaspoon, ginger, 1/4 teaspoon, 1 gram. We have allspice, which is 1/2 teaspoon or 2 grams. And we have, 1/2 teaspoon, 1 gram. It's very light in texture. And then we have 1/4 teaspoon, 1 gram of nutmeg. All right, so we're going to put that in there. And then we'll just take our whisk and shove it on through. The reason why we're doing that is sometimes things can get clumpy, and we want this to be good and separated, right? Like I can see the ginger in here, was in little balls before I ran it through the sifter. Plus, these might be ingredients you don't use all the time, and moisture will get into them, and it can make them clumpy, so you don't want that. Then we're just going to take our whisk and make sure we get them combined together. All right, so you should look like this. All right, so we got that together. We are in good shape. All right, we'll set that aside. We're going to set our dry ingredients aside. We're done with those for the moment. We just wanted to get those together real quick. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to put we're going to do our wet ingredients. All right, now The wet ingredients are really easy, but the first ingredient is 3 eggs. Okay, and those eggs you want to be at room temperature. All right, and they are just whole eggs, large eggs, 50 grams a piece, and that's kind of a standard for large eggs. We're going to put these in our mixer, or if you don't have a stand mixer, you're using a hand mixer, just a bowl. I'm going to use my whisk attachment, okay, which I don't get to use very often, so I'm kind of excited about that. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to plug my my mixer in. I leave my equipment unplugged until the very last minute because I have small children that are here, and I don't want them to come by and accidentally turn it on. I mean, like if it get turned on right now, that could potentially hurt somebody, and I don't want that to happen. All right, so we're going to take our 3 eggs that are at room temperature, 150 grams worth of eggs, and we're going to put it in here. All right, this part actually moves relatively quick. This cake it doesn't take long to make, but it takes long to finish because there's a lot of downtime. All right, so the next ingredient we're going to put in this bowl is 1 cup or 200 grams of just regular old white granulated sugar. White granulated sugar, right there. We're going to put that in there. All right, and then we're going to mix this on a medium speed to medium high. What we're looking to do is incorporate the sugar and the eggs, get a light color, and it should be smooth and creamy. We're trying to give the sugar a head start on dissolving that way. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and flip that on. I'm going to flip the mixer on, and then when I come back, we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so we got it smooth and creamy. Make sure I'm not going to get any of that on the thing. Just like that. Now we started out a dark yellow like the egg yolk, and we've gotten smooth and creamy, which is what we're looking for. Next thing we're going to want to do, I'm going to turn this on low, and I'm going to incorporate my vanilla real quick. Now that we got that incorporated, and that was 2 teaspoons, 8 grams of vanilla. So far we've got 3 eggs, 150 grams, 1 cup of sugar, 300 grams. We mixed it till it was creamy and light in color. Now we added our 2 teaspoons, 8 grams of vanilla. And then the last ingredient for the wet ingredient is 2/3 a cup of pumpkin. Okay, now you don't want the pumpkin pie filling, you want actual pumpkin. You can buy canned pumpkin. This is actually, you'll notice this isn't quite as dark as just canned pumpkin. We can this ourselves. So, and the dark pumpkin you get in the can is a specific type of pumpkin. These were just pumpkins we bought for last fall. And instead of throwing them in the trash when fall was over, as long as they weren't rotted, or had soft spots in them, we took them and made canned pumpkin. So it's a little lighter than the normal pumpkin, but it works. So we're going to go ahead and put that in there. Now, like I said, regular pure pumpkin, pureed pumpkin is what you're looking for. It'll be with the pumpkin pie filling in the pie aisle, or the baking aisle. All right, so we're going to get this incorporated. I'm hoping someday I'll have a glass bowl, and then that way you guys can actually see it versus just sitting here staring at the stainless steel. All right, we got that incorporated, I think. We are in good shape. Almost. Oh. It never hurts to scrape. Okay, as a matter of fact, it's recommended in the baking community to scrape your bowl. See how, if I wouldn't have scraped, I would have, not had all this pumpkin that's still on here. That is a good lesson to learn. Doesn't matter what you're making or baking, I should say. You always want to stop and occasionally scrape your bowl, make sure everything's getting in there good. Like that. I'm gonna let this mix for another minute. And we'll put that on the stove. Get this going. All right, there we go. All right, you got it well incorporated, I believe. Then we'll give the whisk one more good scrape, and we're going to do the rest of this by hand. We're done with the stand mixer for the moment, at least until we get to the filling for this is a cream cheese filling, which is absolutely amazing. I've made plenty of cream cheese fillings, and that's one of my favorites. All right, so we got that good to go. Take this off of here, put that down, and unplug it so we don't have a problem down the road. All right, here's where we stand right now. I don't know if you can actually really see that, but we are mixed in. Cream. We got all our wet ingredients together, all the way down to the pumpkin. So this next step, you want to kind of do by you. Well, you don't want to you want to do it by hand. We're going to add our dry ingredients in, as such, and we're just going to fold this in, okay? And it's going to be a fairly runny batter, but you want to fold it in versus mixing it in so it doesn't break down the batter. Yeah, we've incorporated a fair amount of air in this, and we kind of want that. We're making a cake roll is essentially like a sponge, and so we want it to be spongy. And in order to make it spongy, we got to keep that air in there. I mean, some of the ingredients will help with that along the way, but we don't want to lose that in the process. And you want to make sure you get everything off the bottom. Now this doesn't have to be silky smooth. I mean, it might have a little lumps in it, especially with the pumpkin. So don't worry if you're sitting here stirring this up and you see little lumps. Chances are good it's the pumpkin. But as long as you fold it in real well, you'll be okay. You just want to look and make sure, and try not to spill any of your batter, because you will need pretty much every bit of your batter to do this. Okay, so the next step, actually, let me move the camera real quick, and then we'll talk about the next step. All right, hold on for me 1 second. So now that we got that mix, the next thing we will need is a baking sheet. Okay, just like this one. They call them a jelly pan, I think, but the one I got was just called a baking sheet. And what I did, and this is important, I lined it with parchment paper. Okay, so there's the reason why we lined it with parchment paper. Let me bring it back down here. There we are. The reason why we lined it with parchment paper is this cake, because we're turning it into a roll, is super thin. I would not attempt this, and this is just from experience of baking, even though this says it's non-stick, with this cake being this thin, I would not risk not having parchment paper in here. And you want to just crimp it up and keep it on the side, that way you can pull it out when it's done. You want to preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. You probably want to do that as you start getting all your stuff together, so that way it is heated up and ready to go. I should have told you that in the beginning. And then, like right now, mine, you heard it beep earlier, I'm sure. In order to get mine to stay like this while I folded the edges, I just simply took some vegetable spray, and sprayed the bottom of the pan. That way the paper stuck to the bottom of the pan, so we can bake it. So we're going to pour this in. And you don't want to pour it all in the middle. It'll be hard to spread that way. But we're gonna, like I said, you're gonna want just about every last bit of this that's in the bowl. So that way, I'm sorry, I know that's a horrible shot that you're looking at right now. Got that in there. Set you down, and then you want to make sure you get this as even as possible, because we're only going to bake this for 13 to 15 minutes, and in 13 to 15 minutes in the cake world is not very long at all, but it is, like I said, it's a very thin cake. So a lot of cakes, when you pour the batter in, if you don't even it out, it's okay, because the cake will settle before it bakes. This cake will not settle before it bakes, so we want to make sure we get it as even as possible. That's where that offset spatula is going to come into play. As soon as I get this to all four corners of the world, we're going to take the offset spatula, and we're going to, actually that didn't turn out bad. It may not need the offset spatula. But that's why I said it's also an option. I mean, you can sit here and work it a little bit with your rubber spatula, which it seems to have turned out okay. But yeah, you want to make sure you get this as even as possible across. I mean, no hills and valleys before you do it. Okay, so let's talk about the oven. Because now we're ready to go in the oven. All right, so your oven is set at 375 degrees Fahrenheit, 190 degrees Celsius. We're going to put this in there, and we're going to bake it for 13 to 15 minutes. You don't want to walk away from it. What should it do when it's what should you look for to tell it's done? You can toothpick test it, like we have on all other ones. Just put a toothpick down in the center. And if the toothpick comes out clean, no batter on it, you're done. You can also just touch the top, and it should be spongy. And that's how it needs to be done. But you want to pay attention, because your 375 in your oven may not really be 375 degrees. I know this one is only because I have a thermometer that hangs in my oven that I can read. It's a gauge thermometer. So you want to keep an eye on it. Start checking it at about 10 minutes. Just poke your head in real quick and look. All right, I'm going to get this in the oven, and then when it comes out here in 15 minutes, we'll move on to the next step. All right, see you in a second. All right, so we let our cake bake. It baked for 13 minutes. So the next thing we have to do, and this is where I saw it done a couple different ways, but this seems to be the good method to do it, is you take a clean, or new and freshly washed, never been used before towel, okay, and we're just going to put powdered sugar all over it. Okay, I know that sounds crazy, right? The other method is you leave it in the parchment paper. Sorry, busy watching horror movies. I don't know about you guys, but I like to just put movies on in the background for noise. So, and you want to do this as soon as you take the cake out of the oven. All right, we're going to powder sugar this towel, and I know you're thinking to yourself, Brian, you're nuts. Why would you want to powder sugar a towel? Well, we don't want it to stick to the towel, and we want the powdered sugar in there. So we got our towel powdered sugar. All right, let me set the sugar aside. That's what we do. Now, here comes the tricky part. Because we got to put it in this towel to roll it. That way it'll hold its form. Now this cake is still hot. It just came out of the oven. We're going to take it, we're going to flip it over. Alright? Now, like I said, I watched a couple people leave it in the parchment paper, but I'll tell you why I'm not going to do that, and I'm going to follow the other people's recipe. Alright, so we're going to peel this parchment paper off, and the bottom is going to be the inside of our roll.
So if you get veins in it, see how like we're getting some veins there? It's okay because it's going to be on the inside covered in cream cheese. Cream cheese icing. But if you don't do this while it's warm, A, the parchment paper doesn't come off quite as easy. B, it won't roll. I mean, it will roll, but you're more likely to have cracking in it. So what we're going to do is we're just simply going to take this, we're going to roll it up, all right, and I'm going to roll it up fairly tight because I want a lot of swirls in there. You can roll it the other way too, but I saw a couple people do that, but I'm not sure that's the way I want mine. And then we're going to take that wrap right there. We're going to set it on our cooling rack, and we're going to literally just let it sit here and cool.
All right, so let me tell you why I think the parchment paper thing wouldn't work. It may work for you. Like I said, I saw somebody do it. And one of the people that I watch on YouTube did it that way, leaving it in parchment paper. Doing it this way, it allows it to breathe, okay? Not only is by rolling it, will it help it hold its form when we unroll it to put the cream cheese in the center of it to roll it back up again. You know, it will already, it kind of has like a sponge memory. But it allows it to breathe. It allows, because there's, you know, it's still hot. It's still 375-ish to 350 degrees. It's hot as we roll it up. Well, if you have that parchment paper on there, it's not allowing it to breathe and let the heat out right, and it can build up moisture. So I chose not to do it that way. Plus, you don't get the added benefit of the powdered sugar on there. So I'm going to let that cool for about an hour. When we come back, we'll make our cream cheese frosting, unroll our roll, and put that in there, roll it up, and we'll talk about what's after that. All right, I'll see you here in just one moment. So we've let our roll cool. It's down to room temperature. It's been about an hour. Now it's time to make the cream cheese filling. And if you've made a cream cheese filling before, it's just a standard cream cheese filling. But if you haven't, let's talk about what you need to do make it. First things you will need, like as soon as you pull that out of the oven and you get it wrapped and start to let it cool, you can even do it beforehand. It's okay. You want to get out an 8-ounce block. It's just a package of cream cheese of your choice. And then you need 6 tablespoons of butter. Okay, unsalted butter preferred, but I'm sure you can use salted butter too if that's what you have. Just make sure it's real butter, not the margarine. You want real butter for this. All right, so that's the first 2 ingredients. 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter, and that's 100 grams, and an 8-ounce package of cream cheese. The next thing you will need is 2 teaspoons or 8 grams of vanilla. And then you will need 1 cup of powdered sugar. You also need a sifter and a bowl. Because with powdered sugar, always you want to sift. That's just the straight dough. All right, so let me get you back down here as always so we can see what we're doing. You will need either a stand mixer or a hand mixer for this. I suppose you could do it with just a whisk, but man, you'd have to really work at it. All right, so it's literally just these ingredients. I'm going to use my whisk attachment right here on my mixer. But the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to put the butter and the cream cheese in the mixing bowl. All right, and then we're going to mix this until it's truly creamy and combined. I mean, it may take a minute, you know, because cream cheese, even at room temperature, will have a tendency to stay lumpy. And that's what we're trying to avoid. So I'm going to go ahead and get this mixed. And when I come back, we'll incorporate some powdered sugar and vanilla. All right, we got our cream cheese and butter nice and creamy. Yeah. So the next thing we need to do is, let me bring you down just a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. We're going to just sift our powdered sugar through. So like I said,
you want to make sure you sift your powdered sugar, because if you don't, it's clumpy. I mean, if you can see, like right there, yeah, it's a nice sized clump. It just kind of comes naturally with powdered sugar. The least little bit of humidity, and it wants to clump. It'll be nice and powdery when you first open the bag. Yeah, but after that, you're pretty much, full of clumps. So we'll go ahead and get this all run through. If you have a sifter, which we have, a sifter actually is probably a little better use of this. But I know a sifter is, it's not, if you're going to bake a lot, buy a sifter. If not, a strainer you can use for just about, and you'll use this to cook with, to bake with. It's not necessarily a sifter or a strainer is more of a multi-purpose tool versus a sifter that's kind of like a single use. You can use it for biscuits, because you always want to sift your flour for biscuits. All right, I've got that taken care of there. There is our cup of 1 cup of sifted powdered sugar. Rinse my hands off real quick. All right, so the next thing we want to do is just go ahead and put our powdered sugar in here. There is one thing I forgot to do though, and I preach this quite a bit in baking. It's just kind of get your mix off the sides. You always want to give everything a good firm scraping every once in a while. It's even okay to stop your mixer just to scrape it. Not a big deal. Alright, so we got that scraped off the sides. So the next thing we're going to do now, we're going to incorporate the powdered sugar, and while that's running, we'll go ahead and throw our vanilla in there. Do not start your mixer out on high. With powdered sugar, much like flour, if you start it out on high, you're going to end up with a face full of powdered sugar. So start it off on low until it gets mostly incorporated. We'll just go ahead and put our vanilla in there now. And then turn it up on the high. See? No food. Alright, let me get this mixed up and then we'll move on to the next step. So we got that blended up real good with the mixer, and then I'm just going to give it a final wipe down with the spatula, so that way we can make sure you got everything incorporated. Like I've said before, especially with stand mixers, in the bottom of this bowl there's always a dead spot, always, and sometimes it doesn't incorporate. But right there is our cream cheese frosting. It's nice and fluffy, yet it is firm, just like a cream cheese icing should be. So the next thing we want to do, we'll just set that off to the side. I got a piece of saran wrap right here, or cling wrap, or plastic wrap at any rate. I know you can't really see it because it's clear and it's on the counter, but we're going to need that so we can we're going to wrap our cake or our roll up with it once we get it iced, so we can get it in the fridge. But there is our beautiful roll, and you can see it curled on the sides. It's because it's saying, oh, I want to roll back up, which is what we want. Then we're going to take our icing, and we're just going to put it on here, and we're going to completely cover it. That's a good start there. Oh, yeah, it smells amazingly good. It smells like pumpkin, like a pumpkin pie almost. Tell you what, let me get my offset spatula here and we'll use it. If you don't own an offset spatula and you plan on doing any sort of baking, I highly recommend you get one. They're not horribly expensive. I think we picked our setup at Walmart like forever ago, but I got a set of 2 spatulas for like $6-7, and an offset spatula is actually a very wonderful thing. Now, if you don't take it all the way to the edge, that's okay. I mean, when you make this yourself, it's okay because we're going to cut the ends off of it before we present it. Yeah, before you present it to your family, you'll want to cut the ends off of it, but you want to get it nice and even, you know, and all the way through, because this will be the new glue that holds this together. And how much icing you want, completely up to you. Yeah, if you like a lot of icing, put a lot of icing in it. Like I said, if it squishes out the sides, it's okay because we're going to clean it up. So, yeah, by cutting off the end pieces, those are actually our pieces to have. Yeah, as the person who created it. I am going to take some of this icing off of there. I don't need it to be incredibly icing heavy, just a little icing heavy. All right, we are in good shape. There we go. Oh, a little further to the edge on this. There we go. All right. That'll just leave me a tablespoon of icing to have down the road. All right, then we're just going to roll it up like such. And see how easy that comes off of the towel. Now, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's kind of cool. We're going to put this over here on the saran wrap, but there are little lines on here, which actually is pretty awesome. And they're the little lines from my towel. But that actually inadvertently gave me a way to cut my shows me the lines to where to cut my roll at. All right. So all we got left to do now, bring it down a little further. Sorry for all the camera movement today. We're just going to take this and roll it up. Like such. And we're going to put this in the fridge for about 2 hours. I know it's a long time to wait, but I think our patience are going to pay off. All right, so all we got left to do is stick this in the fridge and wait 2 hours. I'm going to go ahead and get this in the fridge now. The reason why we want to put that in the saran wrap is so it doesn't lose its shape while the cream cheese icing is or frosting is setting up, because the butter and the cream cheese are going to get firm again, just like when you took them out of the fridge. So by leaving it in there for a couple hours, it should set up solid in a log, just like it is now. Now I might recommend about every 20 minutes or so, maybe go in there and turn it. So that way you don't completely lose the roll look. Or if you don't want to, like, we're just going to serve this here at home. And it'll be fine. And if I remember correctly in the ingredients, or in the directions for this recipe, that powdered sugar we put on there is actually going to end up dissolving into the cake. It may not, and that's okay because we're going to put just a hair more powdered sugar over the top of it when it's ready to serve. All right, well, when I get back, it will be chilled, and we'll try a piece. All right, see you shortly. Okay, so we let that pumpkin log sit in the fridge for 2 hours and firm up. So, and let's take a look at it. Let me get you back down here for the 800th time today.
And right here is our pumpkin log. So it didn't turn out half bad, I don't think. Yeah, we got, but, I mean, as you can probably see from there, the ends are kind of wonky, right? And that's okay. Because what we're going to do is we're going to warm up our knife in the sink, because I got a sink full of water here. Just got done getting it done. We'll get it, dip your knife in the hot water, and then wipe it dry. And then we're just going to cut these ends off. All right, this is actually going to be our piece. But this way it gives it a nice clean end. See, now doesn't that look much better? I'll bring it up to you here in a second. Let me get a piece of fine china to put this on. Because this is the piece we're actually, I mean, here I can show you. Right there it is. You know, that's what our pumpkin roll is going to look like. And then we'll flip it over to the other side, like such. Now, before serving, you would want to sprinkle a little powdered sugar on the top. But I mean, as you notice, yeah, there is no powdered sugar left on this, and that's because it soaked in to the cake, just like they said it would. You know, but right there we are. I mean, that is our pumpkin roll. You know, I still got a little powdered sugar and cream on the bottom. I got a little sloppy there with the end, but that's all right. That's all right. Nobody's going to care. They're going to go, oh, wow, that tastes great. Who cares what it looks like? You know, and I don't think the presentation's all that bad, especially when we would just put powdered sugar all over it anyhow. But that, my friends, is how you make a pumpkin roll. So now we're down to just the last little bit, and that's, let's see how it tastes. Right? Right? I know. I'm excited. Actually, I'm very excited. And I've never made any kind of roll before, let alone a pumpkin roll. So we're going to give it a shot and see how it goes. I'm just going to pick it up and use my hands. It's definitely yeah. I mean, it's got a nice blend of pumpkin and cream cheese filling. Sorry, I had to sneak in a little piece. That's really good. And the cake recipe, a lot of them I saw, there wasn't a whole lot of variance in ingredients or amounts, but a lot of people had cracking when they re-rolled it. And this recipe didn't crack at all. It's got really good flavor. It definitely tastes like the holidays, that's for sure. Give this a shot. See what you think. It wasn't horribly complicated to make. It was a lot less tedious than I thought it was going to be in the way people made it sound. And if I know I can do it, you can surely do it. So, like I said, give this a try. Let me know what you think. You can leave me a comment in the comments down below. Say, hey, you know, this was great. I loved it. You know, it reminds me of the holidays and fall. Or tell me to go jump in a lake and that it wasn't any good. You got a better recipe, because I would love to have one. But I definitely think this will impress your family and friends, hands down. I'll be making this again, you know, soon, I hope. But that being said, like I said, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. You can find me on Facebook and get a hold of me there. I'm under Brian's Aquatics on Facebook. And you'll see a picture of my lovely mug. And that's how you'll know it's me. And or you can check me out on Instagram. There'll be a picture of this coming up probably tonight or tomorrow. And or like I said, leave me a comment here. I love conversation, and I want to know what your thoughts and opinions are on everything I cook, bake, anything we talk about, you know, whatever. You know, I just want to know how you're doing. All right? I love you. Try this recipe. I do love you very much. And tell somebody else you love them and that you love them very much. It's going to make their day a whole lot better, and it's going to make you feel a whole lot better. So until next week, I have no idea what we're cooking or baking next week. Actually, you'll probably see me tomorrow or Saturday, because I'm getting ready to can up some Rotel tomatoes, Rotel style tomatoes. Right there's all the stuff, and you'll get to see that. So that being said, I will see you tomorrow for some canning of some Rotel. All right, love you guys. I'll talk to you later.